So, about a month ago, I made a pacifist run of Jak and Daxter The Precursor Legacy, but it got me wondering about my other PlayStation 2 favourite series, Ratchet and Clank. And so, here we are. Can you beat Ratchet & Clank without defeating enemies? The rules are identical to the Jak challenge. We need to get through the game and beat the final boss without damaging enemies. This means we cannot shoot or swing our wrench at enemies. Essentially, all that matters is that Ratchet cannot damage an enemy. We will be playing on New Game, but I am going to have to use debug to get the PDA, which I'll explain in a little bit. I didn't want to do a New Game Plus as your bolts carry over and it would be way too easy. Again, I'll explain in a bit. To do this, I had to learn all kinds of new speedrun tech. You don't want to miss the insane ways we break this game in half. But we will have a bonus challenge too. Ratchet isn't the only character in this game, so we will also not be allowed to damage enemies as Clank either. Really quickly, we won't be counting the spaceship levels or the turret sections. I did try, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. Oh, and by the way, whenever you see demo in the top left, it's extra footage I've captured in editing to better illustrate a point. Also, as a reminder, if we hit 5k subscribers before the beginning of September, I will do a Secret Agent Clank challenge, which I'll let all of you vote on the specific one I do. So if you want to see that, which I'm almost sure you do, double check you're subscribed. Just to quickly sum up, we are not allowed to defeat enemies, and for the bonus challenge, we must complete the Clank levels without defeating enemies too. And I can tell you right now, this is one of the most fun, creative and difficult challenges the Ratchet & Clank series has to offer. Jumping right in, Veldin is the very tutorial level. The most important thing to come to grips with here is how the enemy AI works. This is a very archaic, invisible line. If we cross into this zone, the enemies will detect us and home in on us. Take a single step back, however, and they will forget we exist. We find Clank and go off to explore the galaxy in search of Captain Quark. Hey, there he is. Ratchet and Clank crash land on Novalis, and we have to get a new ship. Normally in this level, you would be fighting through a planetary invasion to reach the mayor. And while this is 100% possible to get through without defeating enemies, we can exploit Ratchet & Clank's level design. You see, most paths will lead back to a central hub of sorts. Novalis, Eudora and Altanis are all very good examples. Knowing this, if we can just jump over this river, we can skip a lot of this level. Unfortunately, we don't have the helipack, so we can't high or long jump yet, and the river is just slightly too wide to jump over normally, but speedrunners have learnt a great deal about Ratchet & Clank in the 20 plus years of running it. This is a pretty technical skill, so I'll explain it slowly. The camera in these games is classed as an actor, meaning that it has its own collision. This is what stops it from, say, clipping through walls when it's right up against them. The camera actor is connected to Ratchet via what is called an arm. This is the thing that keeps the camera at the same distance from Ratchet throughout the game. Now, if you've ever experienced a bit of jankiness with the camera in small corridors, where you feel a strange resistance to it, that's the arm trying to keep that distance between the camera actor and Ratchet. Now, why am I explaining any of this to you? We can exploit this arm to give Ratchet a lot of acceleration, and Novalis is an excellent starting ground. If we push the camera against this tree and do a backflip just right, this will push Ratchet even closer to the camera, and because the camera can't move further back because it's up against the tree, the physics engine doesn't know what to do, but it does know that the camera needs to be further away. This results in the camera's arm pushing Ratchet very quickly. This increases Ratchet's momentum by a lot, and lets us clear this gap without a problem. This is a very easy trick to set up once you get the hang of it. All that is required is collision to push the camera against, and you will quickly see in this challenge just how versatile this trick really is in getting us to places we shouldn't be able to. Now, unfortunately, I do have some bad news. We need to defeat 3 enemies to activate this cutscene and finish the mission. We can friendly fire one of the enemies, but the other 2 are completely out of range. So we are just going to have to defeat these 2 enemies. I can promise you though that we will not kill another enemy for the rest of the game. So don't click off just yet. We get some more info on the search for Captain Quark, and he's definitely just a bit sold out.
So if you're fighting crime, or just fighting grime.
But it's okay, the mayor gifts us a spaceship for us to be able to leave. But before we do, we want to explore the pumping facility that for some reason has the entrance located in a cave. There aren't too many enemies here, but there are plenty of bolts, and we meet the all-knowing plumber who sells us Aridia's location for 500 bolts, which you should have as we aren't buying weapons. Now, Kerwan is where serious issues can emerge. In lots of different levels in Ratchet & Clank, you are not only required to complete a mission, but more often than not, you will also have to pay bolts to unlock either a gadget or the next world. This isn't normally an issue, as you can collect bolts in two ways: smashing crates and defeating enemies. We will have to scratch that second one off, obviously. This does mean, however, that our max bolts for this playthrough have been greatly limited. We can barely offset this for now by collecting the 2 gold bolts. These won't actually give us bolts, but they are surrounded with lots of crates, barely giving us the cash for not only Clank's helipack, but also the swing shot from a German robot.
The two of you make me sick!
The rest of this level, including the train, is no issue at all. Now, we did get to Aridia and we did meet our buddy Skid, but he wants us to defeat a whole lot of sand sharks, which is obviously not allowed, so he's going to be left as sand shark food. The only thing we're here for is the trespasser, which luckily doesn't have a single enemy in our way to stop us, and so we can just pick us up with no hassle, other than Skid being left here to most likely die, but yeah, he'll be fine. Eudora's main path doesn't have an enemy on it, but we do meet the head robot, but all we need are threats. We jump to BTS, and are you ready for this challenge to start getting very bizarre? First, we're heading for the Warship. All we've got to do is run past the enemies to the front of the ship, but we can't push the button until all 3 of these lizard guys are dead. We need to get the infobot at the end of this section, and this button opens the door to it, but locked doors aren't going to stop us. We can do a camera flip at the very beginning of the Warship. This takes us out of bounds. We can then do some funny collision detection high jumps to land on the other side of that locked door, where we can then pick up the infobot unlocking RGAR. There's a slight problem, we're kinda stuck here, but there's an easy solution. Save and reload. You will keep the infobot, but will be near the ship. Next up, we get to play as Clank, and there is a big problem. Clank needs to get all 4 Gadgetbots past these enemies. Obviously, us defeating these enemies with the Gadgetbots is banned, and Clank does not have a lot of movement tech at all. Now, are you ready for things to get very weird? We can do another camera flip here near the window just outside the ship. It's a little weird to get, but once you have the correct angle and speed, Ratchet will go through the glass, and you need to then very quickly glide down here. You can then walk through the wall. It might look like you're about to get crushed, but no. Ratchet will clip through the elevator's floor. This puts Ratchet in the Clank section. Our journey isn't finished just yet though, as all the gates will remain on, as we haven't deactivated them with Clank. We need to find a way around them. Luckily, with a little funny collision detection, we can climb the outside of this ship. Be very careful, as only these bits can be walked on. With a high jump and a glide, we can just barely reach beyond the gate and get our hands on the hydro displacer. Again, because we're doing this out of logic, the bridge won't be made, so we need to save and reload again. Now, exploring the station is by far the hardest bit. There are a lot of enemies inside the station. This part had me very worried, but no. The doors open once the lizards are released, not when they're defeated. We do hit a checkpoint, and we meet the first boss. Obviously, we can't do this, but the grind boots are past this fight. This had me scratching my head. I was hoping to be able to hit a trigger underneath from the Clank section, but that wasn't really getting me anywhere. I eventually found a strat on the speedrun archive. If you reach here with max health, you can bounce off the pipes on the outside of the arena. However, I completely forgot that we need to defeat a few frogs before we can get a trigger for the cutscene. So we can't actually get the grind boots, but you'll soon see that the grind boots in this game are entirely optional. RGAR is very easy to beat without defeating enemies. The only necessary part of this level is the sewer section, where we need to escape rising water. There are a few amoeboids here, but you can get past them pretty easily. We will need 4,000 bolts for the bouncer to let us see the captain though. This is a steep paywall, but if you don't have enough bolts, there are a few crates on the other path, but luckily I had just barely enough. We meet the captain, who invites us to Quark's killer candidate of confounded complexions. Umbris is a major wall in our way. Not being able to destroy the bomb lobbers is one thing, but I'm counting the mines as enemies too, which means if we need them to blow up, we need to take the hits. But there are a few tactics we can use. For a start, we can abuse invincibility frames to trigger a few of them at once. On top of that, you can trigger one and run away. Eventually, the mine will explode. Using these tactics, we can get past most of the mines. But we then see this. We need to press 3 buttons quickly, and they are surrounded by bomb lobbers. But we can just not. We can do a bit of funny collision detection here. This lets us high jump off of things we normally wouldn't be able to. I'm happy to tell you that now we've hit a checkpoint. Now, the final challenge we have is the Snagglebeast boss. Obviously, we cannot defeat this boss, so we'll need a way around it, and we have one. There's a glitch you can activate easily on Umbris called Ghost Ratchets. We need to sink in the mud here, and while sinking, use the swing shot to escape. Ratchet's collision has been turned off, meaning that we can walk through doors and walls, and for some reason fly up ladders. The way this comes into the challenge is, if we line up like this and do a long jump and glide, we can make it into the boss arena, and as we still have Ghost Ratchet enabled, instead of fighting the boss, we can instead just walk through the door and get the info bot. Saving and reloading will then take us to the start of the level with Battalia unlocked. Battalia is normally quite a tough level, introducing new enemies like tanks and other pretty irritating enemies. Now, what if I told you we can get to the fortress within seconds? The bolt crank here is what lowers the bridge and spawns in the first tank, but we can skip all of this, destroy this pipe, and it will gain a bit more collision on top of it, where we can just about pull off a high jump, getting us to the other side easily. We've got a lot more enemies waiting for us down here though. However, with a little funny collision detection, we can high jump to the top here and finish the mission easily without defeating a single enemy. But we're not done just yet. We need to get the info bot for Gaspar, as we need the pilot's helmet on Pokitaru to unlock the O2 mask for the second visit to Orxon. To get this info bot, we need the grind boots. This is where our PDA comes in. We can do something called a PDA side flip to essentially infinitely gain height and distance. This is a pretty complex trick, so let's break it down. You want to constantly hold R1, do a single side flip. Once you've gained height, open the PDA. You want to then hold L1 while exiting the PDA. You then need to keep it held down for just a couple more frames. My visual guide was seeing the camera zoom in a little bit. Let go of L1 and do another side flip. At this point, you can repeat this as many times as you want. This is a difficult trick to get the hang of, but after about an hour of practice, I could do it fairly reliably. We need to go to here and line up like this with the final platform, and then we're going to have to do a lot of PDA side flips in a row over a death plane, getting us over to the deserter, and we get Gaspar. Orxon is the final Clank level. We can't even play as Ratchet here until we get the O2 mask, which you can only get on Pokitaru, the planet after this one. So we're going to have to endure this terrible trial too, or we can just do that. Now, I bet you're wondering, what the f***? This is called a Clank proxy. It's a way of transferring all of Clank's forward momentum into vertical momentum instantly. To be able to use this, we need to be inside collision. Luckily, if we jump through this tree at a correct angle, Clank will gain the very useful ability of phasing through solid matter, allowing us to set him up exactly like this. After that, punch and do nothing else. He will then ascend to the heavens and right next to the infobot, also allowing you to get the Magna Boots just to the left. A massive thank you to the Ratchet speedrun community on Discord, who helped me out tons as my emulator really didn't want me to do this trick. They really are some great people. This results in us having completed the bonus challenge and not damaging a single enemy in the 2 Clank sections. Gaspar is one of the easiest levels in this challenge. We can simply do some funny collision detection to high jump up this cliff, right to the end of the level, getting the pilot's helmet, no problem at all. Pokitaru could be big trouble, and it kinda is. For a start, we need to get the resort owner all the way to the jet fighter. He will not go forward until every single enemy is defeated. We need him to sail these resort boats to get to the next part of the level, which we cannot access without said boats. We can do some funny collision detection here to skip all of the resort boat sections, but without the resort owner, the door to the thruster pack doesn't open. But Pokitaru is the first level we can buy the decoy glove. Casually kinda bad, but for a challenge run like this, the tears of God himself. By the way, if you don't have enough bolts, the best spot to grind is the beginning of Battalia. This allows us to essentially clip through walls if done properly. You can get between 2 decoys and place one underneath you. If done correctly, you can swing the wrench and boom, easy. After a quick ship level, we get the O2 mask and oh, yeah, getting the O2 mask seems to only happen if you can get the resort owner to this spot, which obviously we will not be able to do. What's worse is that we cannot get to the Hovven infobot as Clank. We could do Pokeskip if we were on New Game Plus, but the thought of me learning Pokeskip is laughable. It's one of the hardest tricks in the game for a reason. The only real recourse we have is debugging the O2 mask in, which I don't really have a problem with. We would have just unlocked it after all. Before we leave, we do also decoy clip to get the thruster pack. With our totally legit O2 mask, we can explore Orxon as Ratchet. We won't be picking up the extra health here because we don't really have the bolts to spare. It's not like extra health would help us anyway. So we'll just be tracking down the infobot. All the enemies will be sleeping. So long as you can get past them quickly and without touching them, you should be able to get through Orxon pretty quickly. Just be careful to not damage enemies when destroying the force field battery. And the level at this point is complete. We reach Hovven, and this level is very unique. It's a very vertical level in which we are constantly fighting to climb up, where a turret awaits. This turret, however, can be triggered from any point on the Y-axis, meaning that we can long jump from here, and there you go. We just skipped the entire level, and after a very quick turret section, we get the location of Drek's attack base at Altanis Orbit. Altanis Orbit is a complete roadblock. We need to destroy these towers, which we can do by buying the Devastator. The only issue is we don't have any bolts whatsoever. If you've watched one of my Ratchet 1 challenge runs, you know exactly where this is going. We can destroy the first tower with a thruster pack ground pound. From there, equip your helipack. It's very finicky, but you can high jump off of this part of the wall, and then high jump again off of this pole. Glide on over to the roof and high jump up these arches. Keep high jumping to each one and jump towards the ship. The level won't be loaded in, but this is solid ground, don't worry. Run towards the fence and just walk through the gates. We aren't finished just yet, however. I originally tried to clip through this door in the massive room just up ahead, but due to the floor being elevated and all the enemies we obviously can't kill, it made it more difficult than I could personally be bothered with. So if we go to just after the previous skip, we can do a few PDA side flips and reach Captain Quark. Immediately quit out of the fight and do a long jump. Walk around here until there's a big red flash and jump to your demise. The game will continue as if we just beat Quark, and with that, we have just skipped all of Altanis Orbit. Altanis has some tough enemies, most notably the electricity robots. These enemies will shoot lightning streams at us and will come in groups. Honestly, this level wasn't too bad until I remembered we don't have the grind boots. This essentially halts all of our progression. Just kidding. If we go back to the opening hub area, we can just do a couple PDA side flips and reach the end of the level just like that. We do have to buy an info bot for 2000 volts, but this is the last time. Now, normally to beat Quartu, we need the holo guys. This is to sneak through the Warbot factory as they are all equipped with insta-kill switches. The holo guys is collected on Calibo 3, and this is impossible to get, not counting the giant Clank section in which we need to destroy several large robots. To actually get the holo guys on Calibo 3, we need the hoverboard, which is found way back at the beginning of the game on Aridia. It's the reward for helping Skid fight off about 60 sand sharks, so collecting the holo guys is something that will cost us about 100 kills. But who said we were gonna collect it? PDA side flips to the rescue. We can simply side flip all the way to the final area. Unfortunately, the roof of this area has collision, so we need to finagle our way through the floor. And even then, the cutscene doesn't play. We need to get on the other side of this door, but it's locked from this side. We can get there with some more side flips, and we need to let this warbot activate the insta-kill button and get him to take damage from it. And hopefully the cutscene will play as we hit a checkpoint trigger earlier. Now, this is the other level where you need to use the holo guys, so we will need to skip this level too. But how? PDA side flips. The end of this level is located way over here, but nothing is physically stopping us from just jumping to it. This is a bit difficult as you do have to pull off a lot of these in a row above a death plane, but with a little practice it's totally doable. Unfortunately, Insomniac seemed to plan for people being silly and did program collision all over this ship. There's no way for us to clip inside, but ever so luckily, this final area is where you do the final ship section, and the hangar is always open. Try to find the ship, which should be pretty easy, and land on the platform right outside it. After a very quick ship segment, you can then enter the ship like normal, and there won't be any enemies at this point. So the level is fully complete. Now, I'm sure this is the level you've all been waiting for. Just how are we going to get through Drek's army and himself without defeating a single enemy? Immediately cut your losses and close the game. This trick is about to get very convoluted, so bear with me. We need to be playing this challenge on a PAL PS3 copy of Ratchet Clank for this trick specifically. On a second file, defeat Drek completely as normal, but do not press the button at the end. Now all you have to do is reload our original save file. The trigger to return the deplanetizer to its original state is hit when you begin the Drek fight. But if we can make it to the deplanetizer, we can finish the game without even seeing Drek. Line up like this and start gaining lots of height with PDA side flips. We can also do a trick called infinite long jumps. Do a side flip and press X a second time with the left stick in a neutral position. Then pull out the PDA to do another side flip and repeat. Once you have gained some distance and lots of height, turn hard left. You should hopefully be able to see the deplanetizer's cannon, and it'll be in the up position. Travel to it, and you'll see that the game thinks you have beaten Drek and will allow you to press the button. And with the final button, we have beaten the game without defeating Drek. It's insane that we can beat all of Ratchet 1 only defeating 2 enemies. And in case you forgot, it's just those 2 little guys from Novalis. A massive shout out is needed for Zem92, who made an amazing guide on the final Drek skip, which also included a PDA side flip tutorial. I'll probably put this video in the description if I remember to. He's really cool though, definitely check him out. And again, a really quick shout out to the Ratchet speedrunning Discord who helped me with Clank's Orxon skip. With Drek's planet destroyed, Ratchet & Clank celebrate a job well done, and the Ratchet & Clank Pacifist Challenge is complete. thank you to all YouTube members. I appreciate every single one of you. A specific thank you to Algor, Bento Baker Primordius, Friendly Neighborhood Lurker, Invigil, Multibrad X, No One, Ryan Michael Burrow, _XX Pitters 98XX _, and thank you for watching the full video.